tell us when you're set. Ready? Go.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much for being here. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Port of Oswego Authority. This is Thursday, January 5th, 2023, at approximately, let me see, it's about 20 minutes to 5. So let's have a call to order. Bill, you can start off.
Bill Scriber, Executive Director.
Stan Delia, board member.
Diane Zeller, board member.
Kitty Macy, board member.
John Carroll Smith, board member.
Connie Casamento, board member.
Fran Enright, board member, also present.
Pat McMahon, port employee.
Debbie Godden, port employee.
Great. So let's start off the meeting with item number 2, which is motion 01052301. And this is a motion to move to executive session, and this is to discuss the ILA negotiations and attorney confidential discussions. On your motion on that?
Want to make a motion?
In second?
Second.
Okay. Motion passes. Let's move to executive session.
Second.
Going.
Second.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None hearing. We're now resumed our regular meeting, the regular session here. Okay, item number 4. This is motion 01052303. This will approve the minutes of November 21st, 2022, and that's in Exhibit A.
I'll move it.
Second?
All right. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Okay, administrative operational report, Exhibit B. That would be Bill.
Okay, I'll make this as brief as possible. Updates on project East Dock Improvement, which is the one right down here, closed down for the winter. It'll hopefully open up sometime in March and should be finished within several weeks. Asphalt, obviously, plants are closed, and the contractor who was driving the sheet was behind schedule. Next is the West Dock, that's the one over here, the big one. We are tied up with DEC permitting. Army Corps has okayed it as a structural failure, which is only a repair. DEC has been very picky on how we do everything. So I always say that is because DEC is not used to operating docks, and they just don't understand how you do docks in a lake. So they're slowing us down, and we probably aren't going to get a bid till spring on that. We had, Pat and I had our quarterly meeting with Castro Loop USA. I think it went good, Pat. We had an excellent year this year. Caution you, we're not getting another year this year like last year. But 2024, get prepared because we'll be back in the seat on all this projects again. Everybody liked coming here, both GE and Vestas. It was, GE actually, we bailed GE out on their project, and they had great praise for our employees and our cooperation here. So I think that's a good sign. Our stake in the Great Lakes is going way up. We had our, a couple weeks ago, we had our global marina project kickoff. Right now, they're authorized to go ahead and start construction. I had a phone call yesterday on the docks. We're trying to bring the docking system into the budget, and Carl Rose is working on that. We should have, when Pat gets back, to talk to you, probably Monday, we gotta talk about some technical details we need on the docks. And if Pat thinks we can do them, I'm gonna give the high sign and dock construction will start, and we'll have this whole project done probably by middle of May, which we'll be able to hit the boating season. Interlake container discussion, positive. That's at Interlake Container. I have talked to Steve Fisher, Great Lakes Ports. I've talked to Seaway Authority. there's a lot to get something of this magnitude started. I've been working on it personally for 2 years. I'll probably work on the rest of this year. But it looks very favorable for us, especially with us receiving $754,000 for a container mover. We're on the way to doing it. It's just now, with next stage is a in-depth business plan that will be mostly paid for by the State North Seaway. So we're gonna move ahead with that. We have a new partner, the largest American shipping company in the Great Lakes, and we're having a meeting in a couple weeks with them to put some details on it. Breakwall project, I know, I was looking for my phone, I probably left it somewhere, so if you find the phone buzzing, it's mine. I got word yesterday from Senator Schumer's office on the breakwall. We all know, I told you I had put a earmark in for the west breakwall. And at that time, the Central New York Regional Director was Joe Nemeth. And he says, well, think big, Bill. What do you think? And I called up Army Corps and I said, well, it's gonna cost about $17 million to do what we need to do to stabilize the east and finish the west, right? Okay. Earmarked it. Went online, did the money, get all the stuff. It's in, by the way, the military budget, the defense budget, because it's Army Corps. Not thinking anything less of it. Okay, we got the $5 million. I was happy. That started. We're under contract. I got a call yesterday. Well, guess what? We got the whole $17 million.
Nice.
When Biden signed it, it was in the defense budget. It was, 160 some odd pages. It was in there somewhere because it was authorized. So now we're going to be. Oh, thank you. Got both of them now. Thank you. I'd love to get all my calls. Now it's going to be. The bottom line is. I put a call in the Army Corps. That means that it's probably going to take a couple of years, 3 years to do all this. We're talking about the east is funded, the west is funded, the lighthouse reconstruction is funded. It's just now getting out contracts and getting people on site to do it. So
when do you announce this to the public other than this?
Right? Yeah.
tomorrow.
Nice.
Seriously?
I have to wait, the senator's office, just to make it very clear, I put an earmark in. So the first person they called would be because they were so shocked that actually the earmark went through because it was so much money. And they asked for a quote from me. The quote, Schumer was in Syracuse today. So the press release with my quote, his announcement will go out tomorrow. So by the time people see this, it'll already been announced. Okay. So I'm very happy about that. Senator Schumer came through for us, and what does it mean for us? It means that number one, we get contracts like we have Dean Marine for the next 2 to 3 years, maybe longer. And also what it means for us is that now the break wall will be reconstructed, which is Oswego Harbor, which is our main revenue source. Tug company, we're moving ahead with that. I wrote a letter, which you have in your package, to State Economic Development on their behalf. They're very, very interested in doing this. It will be a topic when we go up Monday, discuss with the governor's office, because the lake and the seaway, the river need a tug station in the lake for safety, for commercial business, for a plethora of things. And relying on a tug out of the other lakes is too costly and too time consuming. So Coast Guard keeps giving special demits to Canadian tugs when there's emergencies on the American side. So if we have our own tug, we can truly honor the Jones Act, which is only American flag ships on our side. Outside of that, I have nothing else. Yes, I have one more thing. Just to update everybody, on the seeker for Dome 4, it's progressing. We're putting it together. We're following the judge's order specifically. So I would anticipate, during the holidays, everything slows down. I would anticipate probably next month, you'll have a preliminary, and we probably will have everything for you to review, because it'll take a month. Because what we do is with a seeker, once we're done, we'll submit it, and then everybody has 30 days to comment. You have 30 days then to reply to comments. So I'm anticipating probably by April, the process will be reaching its conclusion. So just to give you an idea, a little update, so you know where we're at with that.
Bill, I was at a meeting last night, and a lady, I told you earlier, but I want the board to hear this, asked questions about Dome 4 and the building and yada, 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 and wanted to know why we never did an environmental impact study. And tried to explain to her that the seeker was the environmental impact study.
Yes,
She
it is.
insisted otherwise, and it was, I didn't want to get in a face-to-face, but anyway, so we got around there. But I think one of the things that we should do, like with the break well, anytime we have a big project like that, explain to the public what the project is, how it's financed, and what are the regulations for us, like do we need a seeker, whatever it is that we need in public kind of language that they can understand. Give that to them up front so they can ask a question, and I mean, it was
We filed a law on that, a seeker, because we're a state authority, we have a higher bar. We had to actually interact with the state Department of Recreation, which is the Fort. That was preliminary discussion. We had to give them all comments prior to the seeker. And then we released the seeker, which is the
Right.
State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is actually an environmental review. And that's for everybody. That would be interested parties, so anybody like the city would be able to see it and comment on it. So, yeah, I just think that they're mixing up their terms,
exactly.
and they don't understand what the process really is.
Anything that we can do in writing to make it easier for them to understand.
Oh, yeah.
Will help us.
Yeah. Well, the break wall is totally federal. It's the federal channel, the federal break wall. They have their own regulations. That's not to be covered under a state seeker. The federal government is the highest authority. They don't come to the port or the city or the county saying, may I? They do their own environmental. But as far as the seeker, yeah, we're gonna release information on it just as soon as it's completed, so that everybody is aware of what's going on.
And that's, I just wanted to, back Connie up on that too, on the PR. I think we need to keep this up even, especially now that it's slow and there's not, and I think because people will probably sit down and read it because we're not out and about in the summer. But I like what Terry Hamill did years ago. He used to put out releases on a lot of the history of the port and some of the projects and how we got where we are now. And I like that idea. I asked Bill if he could, in this winter, just start throwing some articles like that. But it's interesting that the Democrats did not understand what the seeker was. They didn't understand that was an environmental review, and maybe that information needs to get out there, exactly what we're talking about. Because I know it's January, but May and June are coming around, and and things are going to get busy here, and I'd like to have not only the board up to speed, but the general public too, as much as we can. I think it's just a good effort.
Oh, that's it, thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to the administrative financial reports, A primary and B subsidiary financials.
Yes, so, I jotted down some notes and then brought the wrong folder with me, so that'll help me. But you have both November and December in there, and there really isn't much sense in looking at November because all gets captured in year-to-date December. But, well, you know, a couple items that I'd like to look at if we looked at, get there. So we get into December on tab C1B. And starting with the cash position, you know, we can see that the cash position continues to grow in strength. And I think, you know, Bill, when we get to the income statement, maybe talk a little bit, because you're gonna see variances from prior year and variances in budget that are significantly higher. And it's across a number of different categories. So I'd like you to maybe just spend a couple of minutes talking about, you know, what were the specific activities that, you know, led to that higher generation. But for now, if you look at the balance sheet, what's page 1 of 3 in tab CB2, I believe, and you still, you know, you look at the receivables are very high at almost 900,000. You know, compared to, you know, same time last year, that's, you know, a tripling of, you know, the receivables, which just means there was, you know, more activity that's been built out and hasn't been received yet. And then you turn over the page and you start, you know, looking at, you get into the halfway down into the current liabilities and you look at the payables and how, you know, small they are, and see the variance against the prior year and the reduction of payables in terms of having the payables. When you start looking at the cash position, the receivables coming in, the payables owed being lower, so you have more cash. You have more cash coming in on the receivables, and you have, you know, less outstanding on payables. It really, it then, you know, demonstrates itself within the income statement. So if you go to where you got to, you know, turn the page landscape-wise, and, you know, again, we're looking at year-to-date December 22, and we just go to the total income line. You know, you have 7.1 million in income versus a prior year period of 2.3 million. That is a, you know, the 4.8 million, that is a significant, you know, variance from the prior year. And then the budget was 3.6 million, and you pretty much doubled the budget. Just, you know, on the income line, you're going to have additional expenses because of that income, particularly on the personal services side. But, you know, as I look across those categories, Bill, and there's, you know, the new line item of profit sharing, which I believe is probably with the Castello.
Yes.
That's what is going on there. But, you know, you're looking at categories of, you know, dockage and wharfage and loading and unloading and the profit share relationship with Castello and the stevedoring, all of which are showing significant upward variances from the prior year. And I wonder if maybe you just want to take a minute and talk about, you know, the activities really that lead to the business, that lead to the revenue.
Well, we're 4.6 million gross profit over last year, and we're 102% over budget. And when they did the budget, Tom, you know I didn't bank everything because I was very, very conservative. Debbie and I believe that when you do a budget, you don't overestimate, you underestimate and try to meet that. So we're there. And our net is 2.5 million over last year. It's 285% over budget. Where did that start? It started 2 years ago at the Break Bulk Fair, running around and getting the port out to people that we were a viable port for operations. Also, Stan asked me about our relationship with Castello. Castello now is Logistec, the largest stevedoring operation on the lakes. They have a reach that individually I can't reach. But what they've done for us and what we've done personally, number one, they've actually marketed us to people that we normally wouldn't be able to reach. and then they bring me in as the closer.
Yeah.
I sell our port, I sell our employees, I sell who we are. And that has worked, I think, according to the numbers, well, has worked very well. So then we look at operations. Pat and the operations he's been responsible for, we've contained costs as far as our labor goes, but there's been huge amounts of labor and everybody's happy. And we've contained costs. When we operate efficiently and we operate quickly, and more importantly, we've been operating safely. I mean, that's one of the keynotes we've done with this windmill projects, is that we've done things not just efficiently, but we've done them safe. They feel comfortable with us here and our workers. So, I mean, this is basically a real team. I always like to say I'm the quarterback. I am the quarterback. That's what you pay me to do. But you don't pay me to run the ball. You don't pay me to be the defensive line. You don't. All this stuff is done for them. So I think what this year has taught us, number one, grain is back. Our rail system, we're trying to work the kinks out, right, Pat? We're trying to work the kinks out of the silo. Grain is back, and aluminum, we made inroads on aluminum, and we're looking at you're not gonna get, the 2023 budget is gonna look like 2022 budget. But I think what we've established here is a really good model, contain costs, maximize revenue. And I'm gonna be, am I cheap? I'm not cheap. I'm that Scottishness in me is, I'm very
Thrifty.
thrifty. Yeah, I like thrifty. I'm thrifty, okay? And everybody knows I'm thrifty. Debbie likes me being thrifty, right, Debbie? Yeah, because, but what we've done is basically, I believe that this team has ran an efficient port. And I'm not saying it never was efficient before, but I'm saying is, I think we've kind of gotten to a stride now where everything is clicking and working. And you'll see that in our revenue and our budget. And I'll be honest with you, all those windmill projects and heavy lift we did, and extra aluminum, I mean, we bid on aluminum, we were able to take advantage of markets quickly and very cost effective for us. We got another whole aluminum ship in when they needed to bring in aluminum, like that. Quote, put it together, did it, made money on it. The big ingots we're now sending out tomorrow. We were able to maximize, when it was possible, we moved quickly, got the bid in competitively, made a profit. So I think we're running really well right now.
But you don't anticipate the same in 23, 22?
You can't, this is a business. I mean, you know, what people don't
We're moving
understand.
into a
Yeah.
recession.
We'll have a
and then-
windmill project.
The windmill projects that we would have gotten this year have been delayed to 2024. We have a break wall project, we may get another break wall project with this new money. The port is always location and time. We're in a great location, but it's depending on who has projects. Micron, oh my God, we're gonna be very busy with Micron, but that's not gonna break ground in 2024. I mean, right now, we are, I think this is almost this year, 2023, is gonna be not a down year so much, is it's gonna be another building year, getting ready for another mad, crazy, we've got too much business year. But you can see from our profit,
And Bill's talking about the properties, on page 2 of 2, you're really, halfway down to that net ordinary income. When you get in below that, into the other income and expense items, it gets, you can see some large amounts moving around between,
Yeah.
when things were paid for and when grants were received. So those get a little bit more confusing. The real core operation ends at the line net ordinary income. And, It's been here off and on for, you know, a number of years. You know, 2.3 million net ordinary income is an extraordinarily good year. And, you know, I think that this isn't you know, this is a calendar year end and not a fiscal year end, but perhaps when we get to fiscal year end, you know, a recognition of, you know, that to the entire team, an expression of appreciation from the board is probably due, because they're excellent numbers. They make sense, you know, across the balance sheet and income statement, you know, when we are audited, and they match the story of the business plan as it's being told. So,
And can I just
I'm
add one
impressed.
thing, Tom? That money is a lot of his payroll.
Yeah.
I run at 85 to 90% payroll on those numbers of revenue. So that is a lot of people this year that were getting employed, making money out of the port, and I think our impact is huge in this area.
And
So,
you can see that Young paid 101 under, first item under expenses, personal service. Why personal is used instead of personnel here, but it's a state thing. And, you know, there are some other items that, you know, go along with that in terms of, you know, other benefits, but you can see the significant increase in people getting paid. There's people in this region, you know, in this market, getting paid, being able to buy, you know, goods and services, creating that, you know, virtuous economic cycle. And I think this is the part that maybe is sometimes not fully understood and appreciated when, you know, people are looking at this industrial port and saying, boy, are we using the waterways the correct way? You know, couldn't we have more recreation? Well, it's a, you know, it's a tough winter for recreation in our recreational areas, but the industrial nature of the port drives a lot of economic activity through the entire region. And, you know, I think that's an important part of the story that needs to be told. And then when the, you know, when the audit financials come out and those are released, and you start looking at the amortization, depreciation of these, you know, buildings that were, you know, just provided by the state that really don't have to do with the core operations and the cash flow of the business, it gets a little bit distorted. So there's got to be a way to, you know, tell the story of what, you know, the financial impact is or the economic impact is. And again, you know, it'd be great to have some professor out there with some students who want to do the study
yeah.
and, you know, really, you know, put out, you know, the college puts out every year a little piece.
I've
that
already
says-
employed it. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I've neglected to tell you because it isn't the contract yet, is within my expenditure power. The St. Lawrence Seaway puts out a report with the American Great Lakes Ports Association. I've already tagged to be in that report, and I've already tagged for it to, as we were in 2017, broken out what it means for us. So, yes, we'll be getting that around May. And that's what we're waiting for, what I've asked for numbers, Debbie's gonna, Pam is putting numbers together. We supply, it's the University of Pennsylvania, Ivy League. They'll be doing a professor there. He does it for all the Great Lake ports on the American side. And it's paid 85% by the St. Lawrence Seaway, and we all kick in. We'll probably have to kick in $4,000-ish for our breakout. But you'll have that in May, or May, no later than June maybe, if depending.
And then when you get into these conversations about, you know, turn radiuses, you know, you have the economic impact, you know, standing behind it. If that's, you know, better known, I think those decisions are easier to make, easier for the public to understand.
Well, Tom, just to give you an idea, I looked at what our revenue was in 2017 and what the report said of our economic impact. We're 5 times larger than 2017 on just the revenue. So I am going to be gleeful when that report is released and I can deliver it to the board, because your point is very well taken. Our impact in this community is going to be huge. And where it is in people's pockets. Because we just don't employ people. We stabilize business, we put in aluminum, we put all this stuff. I mean, and we also have the other side. I mean, it's just.
I'll be honest, I've stood, on a lot of boards, and at some point I said to myself, I've got to cut them down, and I want to cut them down to just the ones I think have significant impact to the region. Positive economic impact, because from my position before, that really resulted in positive impact for the bank.
You should be very well pleased with yourself, my friend.
Well, it's just
really-
not, I mean, as I
It's
always
not
say-
just you, and I get it,
Yeah.
but you should be very pleased with yourself, with what is going on here.
I'm happy that this port has been so positively affecting so many people. I mean, you have to understand, just to happen this year. We won the PACET award 3 previous years. We'll probably win it now a 4th year. So, I mean, that only means that we're getting more tonnage, more money, not money, we're creating more commercial development, and we're doing things. And I'll be honestly, there's a reason why I've been asked to speak at a lot of places. Like, you were at the other one I was at the, people want to know what we're doing and what we're doing that's so different. I mean, you get a lot of ports out there, bigger than we are, who do numbers. But we've gone from here to here, and we're not just doing business, we're repairing docks, we're creating things, we're doing things. It's just, I get to take credit for it when I'm there, but honestly, I always say, it's the
Yes.
port, it's us that
It's
they're
us,
doing it.
yeah.
And it,
He looks like the barbarian who just delivered a baby.
I like that.
At the national level, because of things that have gone on the West Coast ports, there's just a lot more of this comes containerized mostly, but coming through the ports of New York and New Jersey, or just East Coast type of ports, there seems to be a greater market share, or a pretty significant article on, how much Port of Los Angeles is worth.
And that's not why I'm looking for this interlake container system. I
Very
mean,
important.
I'm not just looking for next year, I'm looking 5 years out, trying to make the port continue to grow, continue to be very influential in the lakes, because, we were the first and biggest port in the Great Lakes. And, when they dug the Welland Canal, they kind of like dropped, But, honestly, the other ports notice us. I mean, we're doing well. And I think because of that, businesses are more at ease to do business with us. That's why I think we did so well this year, and we proved ourselves, right, Pat? I mean, our workforce did an outstanding job, and that means everybody. And that now is being filtered out, like Logistec, Cashaloo, that we have a port here in New York that can deliver. And that makes it easier for us. We talk about grain or aluminum or windmill or those 2 big nuclear power generators, the largest ever done at the port that we did last year. That people now, they're asking me for quotes because, hey, you guys can do anything, right? Yeah, we can do anything. Just give it to us, we'll do it.
Dan, you have a question?
Yes, Can I raise an issue with Exhibit C2A?
Sure.
Okay, it's the very first one, and Bill, maybe I just need some clarification, because I belong to a lot of groups. But the American Great Lakes Port Association membership dues, and it says fourth quarter.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much for being here. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Port of Oswego Authority. This is Thursday, January 5th, 2023, at approximately, let me see, it's about 20 minutes to 5. So let's have a call to order. Bill, you can start off.
Bill Scriber, Executive Director.
Stan Delia, board member.
Diane Zeller, board member.
Kitty Macy, board member.
John Kara Smith, board member.
Connie Casamento, board member.
Fran Enright, board member, also present.
Pat McMahon, port employee.
Debbie Godden, port employee.
Great. So let's start off the meeting with item number 2, which is motion 01052301. And this is a motion to move to executive session, and this is to discuss the ILA negotiations and attorney confidential discussions. On your motion on that?
I make a motion.
In second?
Second.
Okay. Motion passes. Let's move to executive session.
For $4,243.
The association is just an association. What it is our lobbying arm.
Oh,
And
okay.
a lot of what we do, example, when we want that study done, that only costs us $4,000 or $5,000. Well, they advocate for the federal government to pay 85% of it.
Okay.
So we're a part of an association that lobbies in Washington, all over, and has that ability to keep us informed.
Okay.
So
Good enough.
and I'll be honest with you, that's why I've got on here, I want to go to Washington in March, because I'm now part of the lobby. I'm the only director in New York been
Yeah, let's
invited.
say lobby, because you're not.
Advocate,
you're not
advocate,
lobbying.
yes, not lobbying. I have to meet with the congressmen, the senators, I have to meet with the St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation, I'll be meeting with a whole group of people, and they sponsor stuff like that.
When is
See,
that?
I thought just reading this, that for fourth quarter membership of this association is over $4,000. Woo, that's a lot, but they do a lot of stuff.
It's money well spent.
Yeah, it's all, okay,
Money
good
well
enough,
spent.
thank you, thank you.
Maybe you'll be able to be with Congressman.
Tom? How do you on your report?
Yeah, I'd like, like to move both,
Together, Tom?
C1 to C2, yeah, that includes the, the interest funds, the accounts receivable, the accounts payable. In my eyes, they line up with those things.
I'll second.
Okay, anyone opposed? This is now again support the C1 and the C2. Do you hear any opposed to this motion?
No.
And,
Okay,
we shouldn't
seeing none.
ignore that, Debbie's also providing us now a graphical representation
Yes.
of income and expense items.
Okay.
Yay.
Motion passes.
Yes.
Chair's report. Okay. Couple things. I'm not sure if I mentioned, I went to it was a memorial service for the Coast Guard and the lost their lives over at the White House when they were trying to get out there and get the light keepers, and 6 of them drowned. And they had that service over at here at La Maria's, and they had, there's a lot of people came in from all over the state. They had the captain over from the Coast Guard, from Buffalo was here. And I happened to mention to him, I asked him where the museum was on the Great Lakes for the Coast Guard. And he goes, we don't have one. I said, well, if you'd be interested, and I says, the port and we're trying to find a new home for the museum we have, and maybe we could, you know, get together and come up with a, you know, a nice building plan and put our H.Lee White Museum and, you know, because they were hosting, you know, this, and also the Coast Guard Museum, and maybe if we have Noah comes here, we can put this whole package together. And he was thrilled about it, and he said he could get a hold of a bunch of equipment for us right away for this museum, because he knew where a bunch of stuff was that they wanted to give away for things like this. So I just want to pursue that. I'd like the board to go ahead and follow through and see what we can do with our property over there by the new marina. And I'm not sure how we're going to get this rolling, but Bill's aware of it. He's going to Albany, and maybe we can drop a few hints there, and including our Performing Arts Center that we talked about. And because we have that information about the performing arts.
Well, we know for the Coast Guard movie packet.
Yeah, I have his information. So anyhow, I thought that was very interesting. Plus, we got, if Micron comes here, like there's a lot of jobs and new people settling, a performing arts center would certainly be a good thing to have, and I'd like to see it in Oswego, and something we can attract into the waterfront. So that's one item on the list. The other one was is I had reached out to Robert Cordino. I wanted to contact the mayor and set up a meeting. This was about a month ago, and we finally had that meeting. My initial topic was going to be about our easement on our water line and also some property out east here that we use for the windmills and getting the windmill blades out of here. But as we approached the time of the meeting, my priorities changed, and there more was about the egress out of First Street, East First Street, and the lack of egress, I should say, because of the project that the city had completed with this new bump out that they had, and also the medium. So I want to thank the mayor and Councilor Cordino for sitting down with me, and it was a good discussion. I think both of them realize that the port is ready to, you know, we want to work together with some of these projects that we have going on. And at the end, the mayor agreed that if we had a contract or of such to bring in materials that needed the egress out of East First Street, that the city would be more than willing to work with us in making that happen. And I don't know if any of you guys are aware of it. I do have a couple of copies here of the before and after scenarios on First Street. If this is coming from the port and making the turn, you can see we could make this turn, we could come, we could make this turn and get egress out of First Street. That's how it was before. And as it is now, that can't happen. We have, it just comes down here, and then you can see that this is where the medium is, and we don't have the radius of turn that we can make this. So this is what I was talking about. And I'm asking them to return it to the previous 2003, that drawing, so we can get out of there. So I believe they both understand the importance of this and how everybody is watching our relationship, and I'm you know, more than willing to work with the city, but they are also very aware that we need to get these products out for all these economic benefits that we just went over in our report, and how much financially that this affects everyone in the state, in the county, and in Oswego with that. So I'm very pleased. Thank you, Mayor, if you're watching this, and that we can work this out. And our attorney did reach out and asking to get something in writing on that so we would have it. And I believe we have a response, and we're gonna move forward with working with the city. So I think that's good news. Okay, and last on my agenda, I was looking at all over our statements of what we've done, and you know, guys, we've really got a big business going here. I mean, we're doing very well, and I don't see us going backwards. And with this momentum that we have and how we're moving forward, I see that we're going to be growing. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to set up our leadership without having the proper tools in order to continue on to handle this type of growth and type of media exposure and the type of labor relations and things that we're going to get into. So I did ask the executive committee, I asked, talked to Rajan Gagay, who's not here, I talked to Connie, and I reached out to Tom Snyder about my thought, and we're all in agreement that I asked Bill and Pat both to get involved and to take a leadership program here, take a course that would fit their particular roles that they play in the port. And for Bill's particular role, there is a leadership program out of Cornell. Yet I feel I've looked over what the courses are and actually what some of the add-ons would be. They have labor relations, and they do have media, speech giving, and things like that that I think are very important for our people to have. I want to have everybody. I don't have any excuses that we never really had our management go through a process like this. Every other company does, and I don't think we should be any different. And I also included Pat in on this, that I wanted Pat to take, you know, he'll eventually get to the same levels that with Bill at Cornell, but he also has SU, and there's some excellent programs in running a port. So I've asked them in order to do that, and they've all agreed, and Bill will be, and Pat will be doing this in the next quarter, is getting that training. So I don't think we need a resolution. It's within your spending.
It's all within my spending. I'll actually got a 40% discount on a Cornell. It's an executive leadership course at Cornell.
Well, what I was going to ask you, Bill,
Yeah.
if you could get that out to the rest of the board members,
Yeah.
what you sent to me, just so that everybody has an idea and see what this is about. And I mean, I think it's excellent. If I could get into that, I'd love to do it. But it's really not. It's not really for me.
The opportunity a number of times.
It's the Cornell
They're great
Certificate
courses.
Program, and I've recommended for Pat to take the Certified Port Executive Program. So he'll get port specific, and then he can go into, like, in the fall or next spring, into Syracuse Management Certificate Program, where mine lasts the whole year for the Cornell. But the Cornell is sort of intensive, and that I think would be valuable to me and the port, so.
Okay. So anyhow, I just want to let you know that I'm working in that direction. I think this will do us a lot of good.
Appreciate your willingness to do it too.
So that's all I have for my report, and then maybe Connie will handle any executive committee reports.
Well, I just have one, on Wednesday, December 28th. Actually, it was the day before your meeting. Marie Shad, the county legislator, when I was out getting the dogs to go, apparently the county's very, very into micron. And they have many more constituents that are going to be affected by micron than the city of Oswego, actually. And so they had a lot of questions, and Marie was asking me some questions, and I tried to answer her, and she said, would you bring Bill Scriber to a meeting, and if I get one set up with the county legislator, or the county chair? And so we had a meeting this Wednesday, December 28th at the county. Bill went, and Rashad was there, and Chairman James Weatherup was there. And Bill was able to bring the engineered boards here to explain what the intersection was in 2003 and bring us up to 2012 21. And basically, their questions were really very good. They asked about materials and the logistics of the port getting materials and getting them out, and very good questions. So I want to thank Marie for setting that meeting up, which sets us up in a better position to work with the county sooner. And then she went a step further, and Thursday morning, the next day, she brought State Senator John Mannion in to meet Bill, and so he was able to get a review as well. So we have, I think, a pretty good working relationship to move forward if it goes our way.
Nice.
Okay, that would be, next would be audit and finance.
Yeah, I apologize, the Audit and Finance Committee did not meet, tried to schedule a date. I really wanted Ranji to be there and could make it, so we'll get it on the calendar for next month.
And governance.
Yes, I've got a very brief report. I was asked by Bill to look at two different proposals that are long-standing at the port, but had never really been written down anyplace. And so I consulted with Debbie to get the name of a lawyer, and she gave me Micah's name. So I put down Micah Ordway, and so on and so on and so on. I didn't know whether Micah was a he or a she, so I wrote him and said, "Dear Attorney Ordway, after further informing myself of past procedures of the Port of Oswego Authority, I plan on adding two well-established procedures to employee benefits, which should appear in the employee handbook and plus other places. As the chair of the governance committee, it's my responsibility to prepare these procedures. They've been acted upon for some time. It is time to add them to the written procedures of the POA. Here they are. One is authorizing compensatory payment of accrued compensation, and second is authorize the Port of Oswego to provide insurance for retired port employees' spouses. The POA will not pay the premium. The spouse will reimburse the POA for what they pay for the premium. As you would be aware, the leadership cannot make these changes unilaterally. These changes must be brought by the executive board to management at a board meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for early January. Thought I'd tell him that to sort of speed him up a little bit. And he wrote back, "Hi, John. Yes, I'm working on these issues for you. I think you need a written policy for each, but need to review the labor law more closely. I will let you know when I'm ready to discuss." And he signed it Micah. But evidently Micah is Lawrence or Ordway. That I didn't know. So anyway, he wrote me back in December, and evidently I'm to wait till I hear from him again, I guess. Thank you. End of report.
Okay, and planning development, I did talk to Raji today, so I did, I would just mention to him about the thought of that Coast Guard museum and how the whole tie-in, this whole picture with that marine village down there, how that would be. And he was excited about that. He thought that would, that's a pretty cool thing if we could develop that area. So just to keep that on the front so we can keep knocking this around and maybe we can make this happen. You know, I'd like to say, I haven't heard anything from the museum at all about them reaching out with the county about doing their study and what they would need for the rebuilding. I'm waiting to hear on that. But if we can push forward, I did talk to Mercedes a little bit about this idea, and she was, you know, she's pretty thrilled, of course, if we could put this whole thing together. So that was all from Roger. He didn't anything new on there. So we're going to move on to number 9. We have old business, which I have on here. Yes.
Question, because I don't remember, and I apologize for that, but Where are we with the NOAA stuff? Have you heard from them?
I haven't, alls I've heard, and probably everybody's heard, I'm hearing from the county, it's maybe 90% sure that we're gonna get the marine sanctuary here, but, you know, that's all hearsay, I really don't know.
Is there a timeline on
That, I don't know, I just don't know about it.
Actually, the vice chairman of the committee is my executive director at the Tug Commission, which I'm on, and they're close to a decision. I think this spring there'll be a designation. That's what she's leading to believe, because they are interested in Oswego. Meaning, apparently somebody said something about, originally we had a meeting a long time ago here with Amy Trester.
Yeah, we did.
And then, and we offered basically to house them in some way with the construction.
Oh, wow, let me tell you something.
Okay.
At this memorial for the Coast Guard, Diane, Fran's wife, and I sat with, what's her first name?
Katie.
Katie. And we got chatting, and I was able to explain to her some of our visions and some of the things we would like to do. She was ecstatic that we were thinking about a museum. She had no idea. So her eyes got really big, and I was really pleasantly, just felt good about that. So apparently that was a good thing for her, to her.
I think that we're the largest city within the largest population area within it. We're very close to Syracuse. We have the only deep water harbor. I mean, if you know, our marinas and our harbor stays, even on low water, navigable. All that is going to play into a site. I don't think there'll be one site. I think they'll probably have a couple, like a satellite site and a main site. But, you know, I talked with her at the last meeting we had in Tuck Hill, and she was like discussing that. And I said, well, you know, I'm a business person. You give me a contract, I'll build your building.
She was really up for a museum.
I mean, we have USDA on our site, or not USDA, Fish and Wildlife. I said, we built a building for them. We have a federal contract for years and years and years. So I said, I have no problem building another building. If the board says build it, I'll build it, we'll put you in it, so.
NOAA is gonna be a huge thing, particularly for educators. Right from the grade school level, right up to the university level.
Absolutely.
Well, Fran's got a great idea with this Coast Guard thing, because that would fit neatly into all this, you know. Then you'd have an attraction, you know. And just let's not forget that the whole museum idea, the previous governor was gonna finance. Well, I can't say that. Was gonna finance it, so I mean, maybe we do need to bring that up when we meet one day.
The thing is, if you ever been to Astoria up in Oregon, and they have a Coast Guard museum out there, and Astoria is right there by the mouth of the Columbia. And the mouth of the Columbia is like the graveyard of the West Coast, is where all these ships that are coming in, and they get the shallow water in the Columbia meeting the deep water of the ocean, and it causes this huge, all this turbulence and stuff. So back in the day, a sail, when these sailing vessels were trying to get up there with the current and the turbulence, if they didn't have the wind, they didn't make it. And then even when they had the steam, it was very difficult. So that's where they practice out there, and that's where they have those 40-footers that roll over, and that's where they do all that stuff. It's really interesting. I went out there, I went to the Coast Guard station, and then I went over to the museum. And they have one of the rescue boats right out front, and it has the statues and stuff of all the Coast Guardmen out there, and they're rescuing somebody from the water. It's phenomenal. And then you go in, and it just has the history along the coast. So here we are sitting in Oswego. And with a Coast Guard station that's active, it's right here. And we have a maritime, at the Eastern White Museum, we're gonna have a marina down here. I'm going like, what the hell? I go, this is the perfect place. There isn't anything like this on the Great Lakes. And so, right off the bat, now we're talking a destination. We're talking people that are gonna travel. Coast Guard Museum, H.C. White Museum, right here, NOAA right here. We got that new marina we're putting in right there. And then also, we have the parking available going out, which is in front of the Coast Guard station there. That I think this is the opportunity. Let's not miss out on this. Let's strike right now where we got all these things happening and get this up. I think we're gonna find that our recreational end of what the port can do is gonna be a tremendous input and asset to the community. So that's it. So anyone want to say anything before I move on? We good? I'll go on to, I believe I'm over on new business. It's item number 10. So that'll be motion 0105-2306, and this is a resolution to authorize the executive director to prepare and negotiate purchase package and/or offer for a certain property for the Port Board of Directors. Any questions on that? Understand what this is for? Okay. So I'll need a motion on this.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. And anybody opposed to this? Hearing none, motion passes. We're going to be over on item number 12. I have nothing coming out of executive session to need a motion. So let's move on to motion 0105-23, and this is a motion to adjourn the regular monthly meeting. Do I have anyone, John Smith, that would like to
Veto it?
So
move
moved.
that?
I'll second it.
There you go.
Diane, second it. All right. All in favor?
Aye.